Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. My friends over at yarnspirations.com. Today is Home for Christmas. This is one of my own Afghans and this is an intermediate level and we're going to be applying surface overlay. So when I came up with this idea, Daniel and I were discussing about how do we implement a wreath on top of an Afghan. So I got thinking to myself that I can apply surface overlay with this. So what you're seeing here is the wreath that's sitting there is actually done after the whole motif is done. So after the octagon is done, then you go and apply the surface overlay, which is the leaves of the wreath. So today we're going to be using a 5mm size H crochet hook. There's a total of 5 colors. We have Caron Simply Soft. We chose Caron Simply Soft because it has a drape to it that is really quite beautiful. It also has luster and I think that you're gonna love it too. In my sample today I'm going to be using a slightly different color palette. I don't like doing things twice, so I decided to change the colors just to make it a little bit more interesting for myself. So instead of green leaves here I actually have red, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of poinsettias, but I use that really quite loosely. So without further ado, let's go into this pattern and let's see what we're gonna get ourselves into today. So the pattern is a total of 7 pages. No, there's not 7 pages of writing. There's actually 7 pages of information for you. So when we go through the front here, you'll see that this is what the motif looks like before the surface overlay of the crocodile stitch or the scale stitch is applied. And then once you apply that, then you end up getting the leaves just like you see here. So it's got some nice photographs of what we're gonna be getting ourselves involved with, and we're also gonna be doing a border at the end of this as well as a triangle motif, and we also have a square motif. So here's what we created for you. Also gave you some stitch counts in order to make it easier for you, and you can see that there's the number of square motifs, octagons, and also triangles that are used in order to make it a solid solid edge. So I left off so that you just have like a nice chamfered edge when you're going to do this. Here's some photography. So this is what it looks like. So there's a total of 16 of these octagon motifs that are applied together, and you can see. So if you want to make it bigger, just go ahead and do so. You will find that it will work out. And then we also have my fun page here of the diagrams that were done, and so we're going to do the octagon first. We're going to apply the surface overlay, so this is how it's done, and then we're gonna do a square and then the triangle here. And then what we're going to do then is take our sample, which I have created here, and I'll show you how it's all whip stitched together, and we'll also go through the border with you today. So it's a big one today, and without further ado, let's get into this further. So you can see it's a nice generous size project. So I like making my motifs big because then I can make far less of them. So it just is a matter of more time commitment to one motif, but then there's less to do. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create this whole motif, and then this red that you see here is applied after that it's done. So it's going to look like, if you look at it from the back, it's going to look nice and flat, and then I'll show you how this these scale stitch is going to work. It actually works out beautifully. Also makes it look random, but it's actually strategic too, and you'll see that happening as well. So we're going to then continue and make this whole thing. We did a little bit of popcorn stitches here just to give it a bit of extra oomph. I used yellow in this, just kind of symbolizing gold for my wreath and etc. And again, you can change the colors that match for you. So later on in this tutorial we'll have more of the different motifs that we're going to do, but for now we're gonna get started here. So a 5mm size H crochet hook, and let's begin. And I'm gonna be using Caron Simply Soft today. So here's the crochet diagram that we're gonna get ourselves started with. It's an 8-sided octagon option for you. Now because it doesn't show you the whole octagon, it's just a matter of once you understand how to do one side, the other sides are like mirrors. So there's 8 mirrors essentially. So there's one and then there's the mirror image. So what they want to focus on here is that you want to focus on where the slip stitching is when you go to finish a round. So once you do the first one here, you'll see how it works out and etc. So we're gonna start off in the very center here, and just there's one grayed out here. That's just because it just covers with the numbers, so they do that when information is covering each other, just like you see. So we're going to get started right in the center, and what I have here is that chain 3 does not count as a stitch here, and so I did that so that you have the nice center that's completely filled out. So we're going to begin to do that next. So let's actually start the crocheting now. So let's begin and create a slip knot. This is an intermediate level, but the tutorial has been provided so those that are ambitious can actually try and do this one as well. So we're going to chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. And in the third chain away I want you to apply 16 double crochets. So going right into the third chain away, do 16. So just 1 and 2, and meet me back here when you have 16 done. Once you have 16 double crochets, you are going to slip stitch to the top of the first double crochet, not the chain 3. So just going there, and then that will fill in nicely. I'm only gonna show you one time in order to just get rid of your tail ends. I would do it as you go. I'm an assembly line crocheter, so what I would do, there's a total of 16 of these octagons. I would do the other 15 of these right now, and then you don't have to keep referring back to the pattern. So if you just do all 16 of these now, then when you do the next one you're going to do all of the next round then for all of the 16 and etc. So that's a way to really speeding up the process for these kind of ideas. Let me show you how to weave in the ends. I'd recommend you do it as you go. It's just easier than worrying about it at the end. And just throw the yarn tail through the tapestry needle. Turn it over to the back side of the project and just weave it in. And if you go in and out 3 times, and honestly it doesn't take that long, it's just because I'm in tutorial format that it seems like it does, but just going back 3 times, back and forth 3 times on the back side of the motif, you can really hide things in beautifully at that point. And then you can just trim it safely down and get rid of any tail ends that you have. So this would be how you would get rid of that. So I would do all of your 16 now of this and then move on to round number 2. I'm not gonna really mention that for the rest of the tutorial, but that's the way I would do it if I were you and you were me. So moving on to the next color. So moving on to round number 2, we're going to just join on the first double crochet and chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is 1 double crochet and a chain 1 space. You're then going to apply a popcorn into the next stitch, chain 1, double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, popcorn in the next stitch, chain 1. Do you see the commonality? And when we come all the way around we're gonna chain 1 and then join it to the 3rd chain up when we come back like so. So let's bring on our next color, and in my case it's robin's egg blue. So let's begin. I have a slip knot already created and I'm gonna go into the top of the first double crochet, and then what I want to do is that I want to chain a total of 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that is double crochet and a chain 1 space. And the next one I want to do popcorn. So I decided in the popcorns to only make it 4 double crochets. So in the next one I need you to do 4 double crochets into the same stitch. And then once you have your 4 in, this is how you do a popcorn, you're gonna release it off the hook and come into the first one of the grouping of 4 and through the top of the stitch grab the loop and pull it through, and then I need you to chain 1 to move on to the next stitch. So let's double crochet in the next one, chain 1, and then popcorn into the next stitch. So there's a total of 4 double crochets that make that up. That'll be consistent in this pattern whenever we hit it. And then release it, go to the first one of the grouping of 4 to loop it through, chain 1, and then move on to your next one, double crochet in the next. So please do that all the way around. You will notice that there will be 8 popcorns jumping out at you at the end of this round. So please do that and make sure you chain 1 in between each of these stitches. When you get all the way around you're gonna have your last popcorn. Don't forget to chain 1 first and then join it to the 3rd chain up on the beginning chain 4 like so. So get rid of this yarn now and I'll see you back and we'll start round number 3. So in round number 3 we're going to start on the first chain 3 that you see. Okay, so there was the 4 right where we finished off. So chain 1 and single crochet. You could also do a standing single crochet if you want to do it like that. I'll probably do that too. So in the chain 1 spaces you'll each apply 2 single crochets and you're going to skip over the popcorn, so just ignore the popcorn stitches, but on the tops of the double crochets you're going to apply 1 single crochet into those. Okay, does that make sense? So just 2 into the chain 1 spaces, ignore the popcorn stitch and just go in there. Popcorn stitches are not always easy to identify, so I decided to skip those in this process just to make it easier for you. So let's move on to round number 3. Okay, so this is where I make your life complicated. I got white yarn on a white background, so I'll do my best. So we're just going to join it to where you did the fastening off. It's almost hard for me to tell where that is. I'm just gonna try to peek. It's right here. So in the top of the first chain 3, okay, that's where I'm going to join. So if you put it on your hook first and then pull it through, but don't pull it through the first loop, if you then pull through the 2, that's a standing single crochet. So therefore you don't have to join it chain 1 and single crochet in there. So just space now between the popcorn and the double crochet stitch. In this case it's chain 3. So just put in 2 single crochets and then just skip over the popcorn and just go in the next chain 1 space and apply 2 single crochets and then 1 into the double crochet and then going into the next space 2 and then jump over the next popcorn and then etc. So just ignore the popcorn stitches and you'll see that it will work out really quite beautifully. So this is round number 3. Once you get all the way back around, just slip stitch it to the beginning single crochet. Now I'm gonna keep this color going on and we're gonna move on to round number 4 next. So I'm not gonna go back to the diagram right now because it's so easy. So what you're going to do is you're just gonna chain 3 and then essentially every stitch gets a double crochet. That's it. Nice and easy for round number 4. So just 1 double crochet in each of the single crochet stitches below and I'll meet you at the end of round number 4 and then we'll go from that point. I'm going to show you a cheating technique. So you see this right here, that's part of the first stitch but it always looks like it's not belonging there. So on the last stitch what you can just do is that you can just start the double crochet as normal and then pull through 2 but don't finish that stitch. See this gapping space that is created? If you yarn over and going into that space and yarn over, pull through 2, you essentially have 3 loops on the hook. You can pull through all 3 loops and then that still keeps it as 1 stitch but it fills in the gap space. So when you go to join it to the first stitch here it looks like it belongs together and it's a lot more tighter. Okay, so it's something that you can get away with. So get rid of this yarn and then we're gonna make some decisions on this next part and let's begin to do that next. So as we move on to round number 5 you're going to notice that there's a green underlay of this. So if you turn it over you see it. So what I'm recommending to you, like in order to have kind of like the 3-dimensional look, I decided to keep the motif a different color than the surface overlay. Again, your decision, but that's what the pattern is calling for. So what I would recommend to you, rounds number 5 through 8, so 5, 6, 7 and 8, the next 4 rounds all to be the same color and that will rest in behind the surface overlay. So if I don't want this green at all I could have made it red and then this red as well and therefore it will be completely red. Your call. The pattern doesn't suggest that but that's something that you can do. So you will need extra yarn if you're gonna do that to keep it all a solid color. I thought it'd just be fun to keep it a different color and have little colors of green kind of popping through just to kind of give it 3-dimensional look. So let's go back to the pattern now because now we're gonna start establishing from the circle to an octagon. So rounds number 5, 6, 7 and 8 should be the same color according to my design. Your call. So in round number 5 now we're gonna start translating this in order to get it to go to an octagon. So right now we've been working as a circle. So we're gonna join to the top of the chain 3 and we're going to single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in and then the next 4 in a row will each be a single crochet and on the 5th one there will be a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet and this is going to start establishing the corners. So how many corners will you have? You have a total of 8 because it's an octagon. So then you'll start seeing that develop. So if you look at it from this perspective, just turn it like this, you can see the octagon. So they did it this way just for space analysis here on the pattern. So let's begin to do rounds number 5 and let's start creating the octagon shape. So let's begin round number 5. You're gonna come up to the top of the chain 3 and join it. So you can do a standing single crochet if you want to. So just put it onto the hook first and then pull it through. And if you don't pull it through the first loop you have 2 loops, just pull through those 2 and that's a standing single crochet. So now you're gonna chain 1 and in the same one single crochet 1 more time. So go right up over top of that straggler to hide it in. So the next 4 in a row will each be 1 single crochet. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 and now a new corner. So a new corner, so it's single crochet, chain 1, single crochet and then go again. So there's 4 in a row. So 1, 2, 3 and 4 and then a new corner. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. Please do that all the way around. This is round number 5. So I'm coming all the way around and the last 4 in a row are each a single crochet. And then you're just going to join it to the first single crochet that you started with. I want you just to take a look at it. Make sure that you can see 8 sides to this. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Before you continue, I want to show you a little technique, and I would recommend that you get a spare piece of yarn or stitch markers, whatever you want to do. Spare piece of yarn I can always find. And I need you to make a total of 8 of these single crochet of these strands of just using a different color. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 and 8. And the reason why I'm having you do these 8 now is that I found with myself I tend to lose count. So if I put these on the corners now, I can see where the corners are because the corners really blend because of the way that the surface overlay is working. So let's just put those aside, and we're gonna be implementing those in the next round, round number 6. So as we progress into round number 6, we're going to just start up in the chain 1 space. So we're gonna slip stitch over to the chain 1 space, chain up total 4. So that's 1 double crochet, chain 1. Then you're going to double crochet into the same chain 1 space. I'm going to apply a stitch marker here, one of those red ones that I just did, so that I can see it later. You're gonna skip 1, and then you're just gonna apply a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and in this case you're going to skip 2 single crochets and go to the third one over and double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then immediately just go into the next chain 1 space and do this corner and apply your stitch marker when you're finished that. So you can see when you go all the way around here it'll look like it'll blend, and that's why I'm telling you to do those stitch markers so that you can identify which one of these is the actual corner, because you can lose count really quite easily. So let's begin to do round number 6. So round number 6 we're gonna start, so we're gonna just slip stitch over to the chain 1 space and begin. So I want you to just chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, that's a double crochet, and the 4th is a chain 1 space, and I want you to double crochet into the same one. And before you continue I want you to put in a stitch marker. So just pull up a loop and just pull a stitch marker there so you can see it in the future. I found myself sometimes second guessing myself, but because I'm the designer I can see and find my work easier because I understand the pattern really in a lot of detail. For you it may not be so obvious. So skipping now the first stitch and going to the second over, I want you to apply a V-stitch. So this is a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now in this case we're gonna skip 2 and then just double crochet in the next one after that, and chain 1 and double crochet, so a V-stitch there as well. If you're off at all you can kind of fake this round if you have to too. Now you're gonna come into the next, so each side has 2 of those, so then you're gonna come into the next corner. So in the chain 1 space in the corner you're going to double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet into the same one, and I'm going to apply a stitch marker there too. So that's my next corner. So I should have a total of 8 of these corners. I'm just gonna show you one more side and then I'll leave the rest for you. So skipping the next one away, one, and going to the second one over, I want you to do a V-stitch. Okay, skipping now 2 in a row and going to the third one over, do a V-stitch. And now just go right to the corner. So you just chain 1 space and apply another stitch marker there to show you the corner later in the future. So do that all the way around and use those stitch markers to your advantage. It'll be really quite helpful for you, and we'll see you at the end of this round. This is round number, I believe, 6. So I'm coming all the way back around and I'm just gonna fill in this last space here, this last side, and then I'm just going to slip stitch it to the third chain up. And now all my sides are now marked, all my corners, so that you can see with the stitch markers. It's kind of ugly right at this moment, but it will greatly help you. So before I move on, I'm just going to slip stitch to the chain 1 space, which is the corner, and every time I'm now gonna move a corner I'm gonna move those up at least until I get past this part of the surface overlay area. And let's go back to the diagram for round number 7. So going back to the diagram, we've already slip stitched to the chain 1 space, so you're gonna chain 4 and double crochet and move in your corner stitch marker when you go to do that. In the next space between these V-stitches, you're gonna apply another V-stitch, and then in between this space here another V-stitch, and then in between here. So there will be a total of 3 V-stitches in a row, and then you will do a V-stitch right in the corner so it matches, and move up that stitch marker again. So when we go to do that, so what we're doing here in the next 2 rounds is that we're applying V-stitches in between the V-stitch place. The reason why I did that is that you will notice that these scales will not line up with each other, which makes it look random, which is more authentic to a wreath, I suppose, and I had to keep it on the edges in order to keep the balance. So let's begin round number 7. So I've already slip stitched in the space, so you're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, that's your first double crochet, and the 4th is a chain 1 space, and you are going to double crochet into that same space. And what I'm recommending is that you move your stitch marker up at the same time so you can find it again in the future. Now we're gonna move up. Sorry, we're gonna move on. So in between the next, so this is a V-stitch, so there's a V-stitch, so in the space between you're gonna apply a V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then skip and go into the next space between the 2 V-stitches and apply V-stitch, and then finally between the corner V-stitch and the next one that you're about to run into right in the space between. So make sure you chain 1 in between when you go to do that. It keeps that space open. And then once you have that done, so you have 3 V-stitches that are now between this corner and this corner. So in this corner here you are going to apply the V-stitch. You see how it can all look like it's blending? And then what I would recommend, move that stitch marker up and follow it so that you can see it again in the future. So let's do one more side. So there's the corner. So in the space between that corner and the next V-stitch, just apply another V-stitch. Then look for the V-stitch here and go in the space in between. Okay, here's the next V-stitch. Go in between the space and the corner one. So you see 3 V-stitches that have been applied after this last corner, and then go into the corner of space and apply a V-stitch there and move up your stitch marker. So please do that all the way around. This is round number 7, and I'll see you at the end of this round. So when I come all the way back around, I'm just filling in the spaces between the V-stitches like I have been. All my stitch markers have been moved up for my own sanity, and then I'm just going to slip stitch to the 3rd chain up of the beginning chain 4. So that's kind of what it looks like now. Let's go back to the diagram. Let's go into round number 8. So we begin round number 8. We're going to slip stitch to the next space, the corner space, and then chain 4 again and double crochet in here, and again working in the spaces between the V-stitches, and again V-stitching in the corner. So this time there will be 4 V-stitches that will be between the corners, and that's what we're gonna do for round number 8. So round number 8, just slip stitch to the next chain 1 space, which is the corner, and chain 4. So the 3 there is double crochet, chain 1 is the chain 1 space, and etc., and move the stitch marker up. You'll want to move it just one more time in order to get this to work. You'll find that it's a lot easier for yourself in the next round if you can see it. So then working in the spaces between the corners and the V-stitches. Okay, and then just jump into between the next space between. And the next space in between. See, now that I marked it with the stitch marker, I can easily tell where things are. I couldn't do that when I was first designing this because I wasn't marking the edges, because I'm not always the sharpest tool in the shed. Okay, and there is my 4. So here's the corner, and there's the 4, and then here's the new corner here. So V-stitch there, and then move up the stitch marker one last time, and then you can get rid of your stitch markers for here, and then you can move on. So if I was doing this in the assembly method, I would be doing all of this rounds 5 through 8 with the one color before moving on to the next motif. It's just easier to remember. So just keep using the spaces in between the V-stitches and continue to go all the way around. This is round number 8. So I'm finishing up round number 8. The last V-stitch is in, and I'm just going to join it to the third chain up of the beginning chain 4. I'm going to get rid of this yarn now, and I'm just going to just weave that off, weave it off nicely, and then we're gonna begin then round number 9. We're gonna use a new color for that. So let's begin to do that next. So we begin round number 9. We're going to start off with a new color. In my case it'll be blue, and I'm going to go to the chain 1 space in the corner. Chain 4 counts as a double crochet in chain 1 and double crochet in the same one. So we're gonna continue these V-stitch here, at least in the corners. We're then gonna go in the actual V-stitch itself this time and apply 3 double crochets into each of those, and then just jump to the corner of a V-stitch into the corner. Once you're passing these, you can pull the stitch markers out because you'll be able to see it very clearly where your corners are, and then continue on with your journey. So let's continue round number 9. Let's begin in a corner. You can see which one is marked. See, it'd be kind of hard to tell if you didn't obviously see it which one was the corner. That's why I had you mark them. So just pick a corner. Any corner is good, and then just slip stitch and then chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a double crochet in chain 1 and then double crochet in the same one, and you can remove your stitch marker now out. Now coming to the next V-stitch, go right in between the V's. Okay, so not in between the actual V-stitches but inside the V itself, and apply 3 double crochets. So I thought I'd give ourselves a mental break for this round to being able to find it nicely and also grow it consistently. So in between the next V-stitch you're gonna apply 3. So there's a total of 4 of these stitches, or 4 of these groups of 3 between the corners. Okay, and my corner is next. I can see it. So in the corner 1 here I'm just going to apply a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then move on. So now that that's marked, take it out, and then just going into the next V-stitch itself, 3 double crochets and etc. So please do this now all the way around for round number 9, and you'll see that the corners will still be maintaining themselves, and you'll see it quite clearly this time around. Let's continue this, and I'll see you at the end of round number 9. So when I'm coming all the way back around after I get my last side done, just join it to the top of the chain 3 and be done with this color. And I'm gonna show you something on the sample that I decided to do, and it's obvious in the sample, you just may not be so obvious to it at this moment because I haven't showed you yet. So let me get rid of this color, and then I'll see you, and then we'll continue on with the round number 10, 11, and 12. When we move on to round number 10, I decided to make it white here, and then round number 12 is also white, which I then made the popcorns look like it jumps out. So I kinda like framed this by keeping the same colors on rounds number 10 and 12 and making 11 something new. So that's what I'm looking to do, and let's begin round number 10, and I need to show you something on the diagram next. As we now move on to round number 10, we're going to start up in a corner space and chain 1 and single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the same one. We're going to apply 1 single crochet in each stitch with the exception of the stitch in the middle. So see how there's 4 of these groups of 3 double crochet? The middle one on each side becomes only 1 stitch, so it's a 2 together. I have to do that mathematically in order for this to work out. I had to eliminate a stitch, and this is where I decided to do it, right here. So you're just gonna apply 1 single crochet in each of the remaining, and then the corner again is single crochet, chain 1, single crochet, and again 1 single crochet in each except for the ones that are right in the middle, and that's a 2 together, and etc. So let's begin round number 10, see how you do. Okay, so let's begin round number 10. So I'm just gonna come into the V-stitch of a corner. It's easy to tell which ones they are. If not, just keep it marked with a stitch marker. Now I tell you after you pulled it out, right? So single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet. So essentially I'm looking for the middle one. So see how there's 4? I'm looking for the 2 middle ones to be together as 1. So I could either count it, but I'm not going to because I don't need to, because I can physically see it with my eyes when I get there. But if you like to count it, the diagram is available for you. So here's the middle one. So these 2 become together. So in, pull through, go into the next stitch, pull through, and then pull through all 3. and that's a 2 together, and then I continue to single crochet then until I get to the next corner. So just 1 single crochet in each stitch. So here's a corner. So ready, the corner is single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet, and then rotate this a little bit so it's easier. So 1 single crochet in each of the stitches with the exception of the 2 middle ones. Okay, which is next. Okay, do you see it? So there's the grouping of 4, so the 2 middle ones become together, and etc. So please do this all the way around. This is round number 10. Coming all the way around, I'm just going to join it to the first single crochet that we started with and be done. So I'm gonna get rid of this color, then we'll see you back, and let's do round number 11, and we're gonna be going popcorns again, and I'll show you some trips there too, or tips tricks, tips. In round number 11 we're going to start off in the corner again, chain 3 and chain an extra 1, so there's 4, and then double crochet in the same one, and we're gonna chain 1. So then we're going to skip 1 and popcorn in the next. Chain 1, skip 1, popcorn in the next. You want a total of 7 of these popcorns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So if you're losing count at any point, just ensure that you can see that 7 popcorns are done with these chain 1 spaces, and it will bring you back. So I always try to design stuff so that there's an off ramp or an on ramp, so just in case you're losing count somewhere, it's ways to be able to cheat the system if you have to. Where then when you get to the corner you're gonna chain 1, skip the last one, and then just double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the next, and then start again, chain 1, skip 1, and popcorn. Let's begin round number 11. So let's begin in a chain 1 space of a corner and start in and chain a total of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's your chain, or that's your double crochet in chain 1 space, and then double crochet in the same one. So skipping the next one, which is kind of always hard to tell, but it's actually right here. It looks like it's part of a corner, but it's not, and so you're going to skip that one and come immediately into the next one. So if you look at the popcorn, you'll notice, and the pattern, you'll notice that the first popcorn is appearing over top of this one here. And that's where people can go wrong. So you're gonna apply 4 double crochets into the same stitch in order to do that. Again, I'm looking for 7 popcorns to appear. So come in the top of the first, the fourth one away, chain 1 to move on, and then skip the next one and popcorn into the next. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Drop, go to the 4th one back, chain 1, and then move on to the next one. So I'll see you at the first corner, and we'll make sure you're doing it right, and then we'll just continue then all the way around for round number 11. So I'm finishing up my 7th popcorn. My counts are right, and chain 1, and then I'm just gonna come into the chain 1 space of the corner and apply a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and then start again. So if you're not sure, just look where that blue is and follow that straight up. That's the first stitch of the first popcorn, and then you're going to apply your popcorn 7 in a row. Make sure you got your chain 1 spaces that separate them, and etc. And this is round number 11. I'll see you at the end of this round. It takes a little bit longer to get around because you are applying popcorns, but the look is phenomenal. So continue this journey as we continue with round number 11. So I'm coming all the way around and just finishing my last popcorn of the round, and then just chain 1, and then I just have to slip stitch to the 3rd chain up to finish off this round, and I'm gonna get rid of this color. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the white so I can frame it, and then just make sure that you have 7 popcorns in each side, and then things will work out pretty good for you. So let's begin round number 12 next. As we begin round number 12, we're going to start off in the corner and chain 1, single crochet in the same one, chain 1, single crochet in the same one. So each one of these double crochets that you see here and the chain 1 spaces each get a popcorn. So the popcorns are somewhat hard to identify, so just make sure that once you identify where you think it is, make sure that the single crochet goes into each one of the areas that you think it is, and then it should work out for you. So again, each single crochet, sorry, each chain 1 space and each stitch here will get a single crochet, and then when you get to the next corner it's single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. So let's begin round number 12. We just have one more round to go after this. So let's begin round number 12. We're gonna start off in the corner. So go right to a corner space, and you can do a standing single crochet. So just going in, pulling it through, and you got 2 loops. Pull through, chain 1 and single crochet in the same one. So it's kind of like a single crochet V-stitch in the corners. So each one of these double crochets here will get a single crochet, and then in the space between the stitches, so between the before the next popcorn is gonna be a single crochet. So what you want to identify is where do you think it is. So I'm just gonna apply the 1 single crochet here, and then going into the space in between, and then in the same area of the next one, and the space in between. Okay, so that's what all we're gonna do here. Sometimes it's hard to identify those popcorns, but if you're consistent then it will look right, and if you do it the same with each one of the motifs, then it'll be perfect. So before you get to the next corner, just go into the space first, then into the double crochet that belongs in the corner, and then go to the corner. So single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. So you're starting another side, so start in the double crochet, go in the space in between, and then popcorn, space in between, and popcorn. Please do that all the way around. This is round number 12. So I'm just finishing up this round and just coming all the way, and then I'm just gonna slip stitch, and then I'm gonna get rid of this color, and we're gonna move back to the blue for the final round, and looks pretty good so far. So let's go back to the diagram in just a moment, and then we'll continue on for round number 13, lucky 13, and the final round of this motif. So this is all she wrote. One more round. We're gonna come and we're gonna start off in the chain 1 space of a corner and apply 4. So it's 1 double crochet, chain 1, and it's just gonna be 1 double crochet into each of the stitches right up until the next corner. Corner is 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet, and etc. So last round, nice and simple, just double crochets, and that will help it to bring it back in balance for this. So let's bring back the blue and let's do the final round. Last round, here we go. We're gonna go right into a chain 1 space of a corner, and you're gonna chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and double crochet in the same one. Now they're gonna just go make sure that you get that first one that is in the corner. See it? And just make sure you get all the stitches that you need, and it's 1 double crochet in each corner. So 1 double crochet, chain 1, 1 double crochet, which is a V-stitch. And I want you to do that all the way around then for the final round, number 13. Weave in the ends, and I want you to do all your motifs first before you moving on to the surface overlay, which is the wreath that will apply in the next portion of today's tutorial. So let's continue that, and I'll see you at the end of this round. Okay, now that I'm all the way back around, I'm just going to slip stitch to the chain 3, the 3rd chain up, and then that's it for this. So what we need to do is that you need to get all your motifs done to this level, and then what I would recommend is doing all your surface overlay second when all the motifs are done. If you'd like to do the first one, of course, just to see what it will look like, that's up to you too. So what we're going to do then is we're gonna move on in this tutorial, and I'm gonna show you the surface overlay next, and it's actually really easy. Now when I was designing it just for full transparency, I wasn't sure it was gonna work. It was just a fluke on the numbers. It just happened to work out, which is awesome. Some things just are a miracle, and that's just one of them. So it should be laying relatively flat for you here, as that you can see. And what we're going to do is that we're gonna start our surface overlay, and we're gonna start on the outside. So you got 3 rings of this green, which is the V-stitches. You're gonna start with the outside one first, and then do the next, and then next. And the reason for that, when you look at it, see how it overlays and it lays down on top of the stitches. If you start here, these points will be in the way, so you won't be able to see it. So you want to start on the furthest one out, and then the next one, and then the next one, and you'll see how they're kind of aligning with each other once in a while, and then sometimes they're going off alignment. That's just completely random, but it's really kind of not, and I'll be explaining that more in a bit. So let's move on to the surface overlay. So let's begin the surface overlay. So it is a wreath that is sitting on top of this that is part of it, and so when you look at the original sample, here, you'll see that the leaves are on top, and you can see that it's wrapping around the posts that are on the back side. So what we're going to do here is that we're going to transition this into having leaves. So I'm gonna take you to the diagram first and I explain it to you, because once you understand this concept you can do all 3 rounds the same way. You will need to fasten off at the end of each round and restart, and you will need to tuck in your ends in order to do so. So that's one of those things. So let's go back to the diagram now and let's show you what you're up to. So the diagram has been done so that it appears like this. Okay, so it's right, it's completely right. Now when I'm going to do something like this, I would recommend to you that you turn and you think about it from a different perspective. In this kind of element, you're not going to just apply it like you see it here. You're going to apply it as like it's upside down. And how I explain that is that I want you to look at it from this perspective, and what we're going to do, just ignore where you started, and what we need to do is that we need to build out on the posts. So right on the start of the post we're gonna build out and then work our way down and then chain 1 and then work our way up. So we're skipping every other V-stitch that you see. Okay, so when you look at it from this, there's a V-stitch and there's a V-stitch, but the V-stitch has been covered over, so we're skipping every other one when we go to do this. So essentially what I'm saying to you is that I'm not going to start up here and go this way. What I'm going to do is that I'm gonna start here and go this way. Okay, so I'm gonna start. So what I want to do is that I want to build myself down the posts and then do the chain 1 and then build my way back up the post. So what we have to consider is that we have to consider where we're starting. So I'm going to start the first time in a corner, and because I go every other one, I'm going to finish the 2 V-stitches away. So just skip this one and I'll finish there and then I'll attach it. The next time I go, I am not going to start off in the corner. I'm just gonna move over by 1 and then go all the way around, and the next one I will start off in the corner. Because these stitches are working together, you're going to notice that it's going to appear random, but in actual fact it's not random at all. You're just skipping every other V-stitch when you go to do this. So it just works out to be looking random. So I'm going to take my time. I'm gonna show you how to get started, but for now get your motif ready, grab your yarn, and let's begin to try this. As I've already stated before, you want to start off on the outside ring first of the V-stitch, then the next round will be inside, and then the final one will be inside. And remember what I said is that when you go to create these leaves, it kind of buries over what is already there. So if you start in this one here, it's gonna be harder to access these stitches because these leaves will be in your way. So because you're gonna do it, you're going to notice that it will have a nice ring, and then you'll be able to see the next layer of stitches. So even though it's covering over now, it's not as you're going, and you'll see that in just a few moments. So let's begin. We're gonna create a slip knot, and I want you to really think about how you're gonna get yourself started. So I'm just gonna position it like this so I can see a corner, and I'm gonna zoom you in a little bit closer, so just stand by. Okay, so here you got a front row seat. So I'm looking for the corner and I'm looking for the V-stitch, and I'm looking for, so we're gonna play within the V-stitches. So I'm gonna use this V-stitch, I'm going to skip this one, and I'm gonna use this V-stitch, and we're going every other one. So starting in the first one, I want you to go around the post. Okay, stay towards the middle area, and it will make sense in just a moment, and just attach and chain 3. This will count as a first double crochet. Now working down the post towards the outside of the motif, I want you to put 4 more double crochets. So with the chaining of 3 I just did plus the 4, that gives you a total number of 5, which is what we want. Make sure you actually finish the stitch. And once you have a total number of 5, so in this case it's 3, chain 3, and then 4 double crochets, I need you to chain 1. Now I'm going to shift the project like this, and I'm gonna come to the other side of that same V-stitch, starting at this side on the outside, and work my way back towards the center of the motif. This is how you do the crocodile or scale stitching. And I'm just gonna work my way up. So essentially I'm working down one post and I'm working up the other. So I'm working 5 double crochets up this next post that is part of the same V-stitch. So the outside here should be facing the outside of the motif. Okay, so I'm going to skip the next, let me just finish that stitch. I'm going to skip the next V-stitch that you have and go to the second one over, and start on the upper one that is closest to the inside and work my way down 5 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then chain 1, just shift it so it's easier to get to, and go up the other side of that same V-stitch. So starting on the outside of the part of the motif and work your way up towards the center of the motif, and you're doing 5 up there. And all you're doing is you're doing this all the way around, and then when you get to the end of the round we fasten off and then restart again and we go around again. The nice thing about it is that the first time around it takes a while, but when you get to the other rings it's smaller. It's a smaller diameter, so it goes faster and then even faster as you're doing the other one. So skipping the next set of V-stitches and just reach over, starting on the center side of the motif, and work your way down. So it's kind of hard terminology because when you think up and down you're thinking the upper side of a project, but in this case because you're working on the base and swinging around it's kind of opposite. So chain up 1, shift it, and come in the other V-stitch and go up that next post. So hopefully you understand. So you're just gonna skip the next V-stitch and go on. So what I'll do is I'll meet you at the end of this revolution. We'll get you started in another one, and then I'm gonna leave you the final revolution to do on your own, and then we'll meet back up there and move on with the rest of the motifs. So skipping the next one and just shifting over and doing that. So please do that all the way around. So I'm just finishing up the final scale, and so there should be, if your counts are right, 1 V-stitch that's left in between because you have to skip every other one, right? So what you need to do at the end of this, unfortunately my friends, you're gonna need a tapestry needle. So I want you to slip stitch it to the top of the first chain 3, and then that will pull it over and look like it's part of it. And then what I'm gonna recommend to you at this point is just to trim this yarn and pull through. Now if you weave it in right now as is, it's going to fall out on you. So what I do is put your hook on the back side and pull it through the stitch work in the back side. Pull that yarn through, and I want you to turn it over. So just for transparency, I did this all at the same time. So I pulled all my yarn ends to the back side, and then at the end of the motif I just went, at the end of when I was done, I just took the motif strands and then I just wove them in. So all I just want to do is secure it on the back side through some stitch work. So don't you dare go through the front side of this. Just go back once and twice and 3 times, and you'll want to do that each and every time. Okay, this is the only way to get rid of it so that it won't fall out on you, and therefore you have the beautiful ring here. So do you see what I'm saying about starting on the outside ring? The next one is interior, but you can see all of the stitch work easily because the hangover is towards the outside. So to start the next one, there's still an even number here, so you can do every other one. So we started off on a corner, so what I'm recommending is start another one in. So not in the corner, just start at the next one and go every other one once you start that. Again, like before, just put on a slip knot and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and down that same post, so towards the outside of the motif towards you. See how I'm coming up over those loose ends? I can get rid of that one without having to weave it in. So that was considered chain 3 plus the 2, so it's 3 so far, 4 and 5, and now I can just safely just trim that loose end out now. Then I don't have to worry about it later. Then chain 1 and then flip the project so I can access it and come down the other side of that same V-stitch, and then just skip every other V-stitch going around. Okay, so that's all you need to do. I showed you how to end around, so do that. And what I'm expecting you to do before you move on is that I want you to do this one more time, and in the next one I would start off in the corner V-stitch that you'll find and go every other one all the way around. So that's what I need you to do, and when we come back I'll have that done and we'll continue on. You'll notice that these will get faster and faster because it's closer to the center. There's less V-stitches to worry about. So if you felt the first round is a while, it takes a while to get used to it, but once you start blazing your way through these, it gets a lot easier for sure. And we'll see you at the end of the section here, and then we're gonna move on in the pattern and move on to the square. So I'll see you and do a quick review before we get there, and I'll see you in just a moment. So here's the motif completely finished, and when I turn it over you can see it. I've got rid of all my loose ends. I wanna make sure I get that all done and tucked away. It's just easier than assembling this and having all those loose ends everywhere. So let's take a look at the other project that I'm working on. So I did this one as my last one, so I did my homework in advance and getting all these other motifs done. And what you can see here is that I'm gonna add it in. So you can see it's gonna puzzle together. So we still have the square and the triangle to do. To understand the triangle, I think you should do the square first, because essentially the triangle is half of the square, and we'll be getting to that in just a little bit. So we're gonna move on now to the square. There is a diagram available for that. Essentially it's kind of this but made as a square, but thankfully we don't have any more of those scale stitches, so I've given you a bit of a break in that element. Honestly I couldn't handle anymore, but anyway. So that's kind of the honest to God truth. So everything is gonna puzzle together, and it's just gonna be fun and fabulous, I suppose. So let's without further ado, let's go to the diagram here of the square and let's figure out what we're gonna get ourselves into next. So let's look at this bad boy here, and this is a diagram again, and this is now for the square. Now the difference between the octagon and the square is the number of sides. Obviously there's only 4 sides versus 8. So there's only gonna be 12 double crochets going around. So you'll see that the one's grayed out. That's because the number 1's in front of it here. So they do that just for easy reading. So we wanna kind of continue with the same kind of color palette. I think I did it in a way that I could maximize the amount of yarn without having a lot of waste. So that's how I figured it out. So I did all my squares to be the same coloring, and that's up to you if you would like to do that. So we're gonna start off in a circle and then eventually convert ourselves to a square nice and easily, and then finish off just like so. So there's no other than the main start here, popcorns, there's a total of 6 of them. There's really not a lot to these, and then the triangle is even easier, and we have a triangle version as well, which is essentially half of this, but I will show you how that's done as well, because there is a slight trick to that as well. So let's get started. Okay, let's grab our 5mm size H crochet hook. It's the same size hook. I'm not even sure why I said it. Okay, so we're gonna chain up 3. So 1, 2, 3. Now I want you to put 12 double crochets in the 3rd chain from the hook, so the very starting chain. So you're gonna go 1 ringy dingy, 2, and see me here once you get 12 done. So just put me on pause now. So make sure you have your 12 double crochets and then slip stitch to the first one. Make sure that the chain 3 at the start never counted as a stitch. Finish it off just like I showed you before, and then let's move on to round number 2. Back to the diagram and round number 2. We're going to just start on one of the double crochets, chain up 4, which counts as your double crochet, and chain 1, and then popcorn into the next, chain 1, double crochet into the next, chain 1, popcorn in the next, and so you'll end up with this configuration with 6 popcorns going all the way around. The popcorn is done exactly the same way, and I also chose the same colors just for consistency of the look of this particular Afghan. So let's start round number 2, just going into any one of the double crochets is fine, and you're just gonna slip stitch to pull through and then chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, that's your double crochet, and the 4th one is your chain 1. So you're gonna popcorn in the next stitch available to you, so it's consisting of 4 double crochet, and remember with the popcorn, once you get your 4 in there, just drop the loop, go to the first one, pull through, and then chain 1 and double crochet into the next one, and you're gonna do that repeating all the way around. So chain 1 to start, chain 1 to start, and then popcorn into the next. I'm catching on my weaving tails. I'll probably leave this in the tutorial, because a tutorial that doesn't have mistakes to me is it's almost a joke in some way, because people feel like you're perfect in every way, but the fact is that we screw up like everybody else does. It depends how serious the mistake is. Now if I'm giving you wrong information or telling you wrong counts, then yeah, by all means that's when I can be in a lot of trouble. Okay, so you got 4, drop, go to the first one, pull through, chain 1, double crochet into the next, chain 1, and then popcorn in the next. So please do that all the way around. You should be able to count 6 popcorns going around and 6 double crochets standing on their own. So I'll see you at the end of this round. If your counts are right, the very last stitch here will be a popcorn stitch. So do that, pull through, chain 1, and then join it to the 3rd chain up on your beginning. So round number 3 that we're about to start is slightly different than round number 3 of the octagon, and so this is what you can see at this point. So let's get rid of this yarn and let's go back to the diagram. Back to the diagram we go. We're gonna just join it to the top of the first chain 3, okay, and then you're gonna chain 1 or double crochet and then single crochet. You can also do a standing single crochet, it's up to you. So each one of these chain 1 spaces is gonna have 2 single crochets in it, but this time in the popcorn you're also going to put 1 single crochet. If you remember from the original when we did this, let's just pull this other diagram here. If you remember when we did this way back in the beginning, is that when we did this we skipped over the popcorns. This time we're not. We need every stitch to count in this case. So it's going to be 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets, 2 single crochets in this of the chain 1 spaces, and 1 single crochet in each of the popcorns. Let's continue round number 3, and I also use round number 3 and 4 to be the same color. That's again your call. Let's begin round number 3. Just join it to the top of the first chain 3, and if you go in and pull through and scoop it and keep 2 loops, pull through the 2. That's a standing single crochet which counts. So in the chain 1 spaces just put in 2 single crochets and then put a single crochet in the top of the popcorn stitch. Okay, and then go into the space for 2 more, and then here's a double crochet, so just apply 1 into the double crochet. So then 2 into the chain 1 space, 1 into the popcorn, 2 into the next chain 1 space, and then 1 into the double crochet. So please do that all the way around. I don't fasten off at the end of this one, so it's your call what you would like to do with your colors. When you get all the way back around, don't forget that chain 1 space before you finish. There's 2 single crochets there, and then just join it to the beginning 1 and just hold. We're gonna go back to the diagram and let's continue on to round number 4. So in round number 4 we're now going to transition then to a square. We're going to chain up 3 and then double crochet into the same one that you have here, and then there's gonna be 1 double crochet into the next, 1 half double crochet into the next one after that, 4 singles in a row, and then 1 half, 1 double, and then we're in the new corner. So just 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, and we're gonna be doing that then all the way around. So you just gotta remember that there's 1 each of the big stuff. So half our double crochet, half, 4 singles, half, double, and then a corner. Let's continue then to round number 4. So let's continue. We're gonna chain 3, counts as your first double crochet, and in the same one you did the join, apply another double crochet in there. So then here's our counts going across. We're gonna do 1 double crochet, we're gonna do 1 half, and then we're gonna do 4 singles. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then 1 half, 1 double, and then the next one is a corner. So in the corners it'll be 2 doubles, chain 2, and 2 doubles, and I'll just do one more side with you, just make sure you got it. Okay, so the next side is gonna be 1 double, 1 half, you got 4 singles, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then 1 half, 1 double, and the next corner is 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. So continue all the way around. I'll meet you at the end of this round and we'll just verify you got it right, and therefore see, you can see it's going to square at this moment. When you get all the way around, don't forget in the beginning one where you started, you still have to do 2 double crochets into that same one to finish off that corner, and then just chain 2 and then just slip stitch it to the top of the chain 3, and then that's the end of that revolution. So get rid of this yarn and we're gonna continue. The rest of the rounds are really quite easy to be able to maintain. So this will be the last time looking at this diagram because the rest of the 3 rounds are simple. So we're just gonna do a single crochet, 1 into each, and the corners will be 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet. Do that all the way around for round number 5. Number 6, there will be starting in the chain space, chain 3 counts as a double crochet, 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet in each, and the corners will be 2 chain 2, 2 double crochet. And finally the last round will just simply be what you know with round number 5, and that seems to be pretty good. So you're gonna notice that it doesn't look completely square yet. It will square off as you're starting to continue the rest. So let's go to round number 5 and then we'll continue on. So number 5, we're just going to go into the chain 2 space, and you could do a standing single if you want to. So just going in, pull through the 2 loops, and that's a standing single. Just only chain 1 and single crochet in the same one. Go right up over top of the straggler and just apply 1 single crochet into each of the stitches going across, and then on the corners 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet, and you'll notice this will help pull it to be more square as well when you go to do this one. So I'll see you at the end of this round, round number 5. Coming all the way around, this is the last stitch. I'm just going to slip stitch it to the first one. Let's get rid of this yarn. Let's move on to round number 6 and let's continue. Round number 6 is a double crochet round. Just start off, go into the chain 1 space in a corner, and then chain, slip stitch it, and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then a double crochet into the same spot, and then coming into the first stitch and going 1 double crochet into each, and then corners, don't forget, is 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet. So please do this all the way around. This is round number 6. We got 1 more round to go, and then you can know how to do your squares at this point. There's only 12 of them in this design. Again, if you would like to make it bigger or smaller, that obviously will change the number of squares that you'll need and the number of, amount of yarn you'll require as well. So continue then to round 6. When you get all the way around, don't forget the first corner that you started with. You gotta finish it. So you gotta put in 2 double crochet there, and then chain 2, and then just slip stitch it to the top of the chain 3. 1 more round to go, folks, and then we're gonna be done the square, and then we're gonna move on to the triangle. Triangles are actually a lot quicker to make because there's only a half of a square, but there is a trick to it, and I'll show you that in just a bit. So let's do your final round. Final round is just 1 single crochet into each of the stitches. I went back to blue in this particular sample. Again, colors are up to you. Just create a slip knot going into the corner. I'm doing a standing single, chain 1, and then 1 more single in there, and then just 1 single crochet into each stitch going around, and then in the corners just 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet. So this will conclude then the round number 7, and I'll be back in just a moment just to finish off, and then we'll talk about the triangle next. And finally, when you come back around, you're just going to slip stitch it to the first single crochet because you've already done that corner. And what I need you to do is take care of your loose ends at this time then for the whole square, so that you have a nice clean slate to work with. On the last one here, you might want to use your tapestry needle to hide that one in. So just grabbing your tapestry needle now and just finish it off. So if you go back and forth 3 times into the project, you can see I have other tails to work through. Back and forth on the back side of here, 1, 2, and 3. Then you should be good to go, and it's nice and quick and easy, so it's not a big deal. And then any tails that you went over to get it in, you should get those out too, and then you have a nice clean slate. So we're gonna move on to the triangle next, which is a half one of these, and it's actually pretty simple once you look at it from this perspective. When we look at the triangle, it's actually half of one of these squares. The difference that I'm making this versus this is that when we think about doing this, we're thinking about continuous rounds. We've been doing that throughout the whole motif so far. With the triangle, we don't have the option of going all the way around. We always have to stop and then restart. So we have to stop. So we start and then we stop, and then we fasten off, and then we start, and then we stop, and then fasten off. Because if you go back and forth in this like rows, what's gonna happen is that it will look upside down, and this is consistent looking for going a continuous round, and if I go back and forth in the rounds, this will look wrong. So we want to continue that. So we have a diagram available for this, and essentially it's just half, and it's nice and easy. And once you have this done, then you're just gonna whip stitch it with a back loop there, and you'll see that it's a nice continuous join on both sides. So here's the crochet diagram that we're gonna have. We're gonna start off and the first chain 3 doesn't count as anything, and you have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So the odd number was the trick to this in order to figure this out. And then you can see that there's only 6 popcorns, and you can see that we do what we have already done in the past and then continue to get ourselves to a square. So sorry, I have a little bit of indigestion today. So I'm just gonna work my way through. So the trick is that you can see that we're always starting on this side, we always finish on this side. So when we get here we gotta fasten off, weave in the tails, and then we start. So it's almost like a typewriter. So we go across, stop, and then restart on the other side. So that's kind of the concept. Let's begin this triangle motif. Let's create a slip knot and let's begin. We're gonna chain 3. Doesn't count as a stitch at all, and we want to put in 7 double crochets into the first chain. So 1 2, this is 3 4 this is 5 6 and 7. That's it. So you want to get rid of this now. You want to fasten off, and in the first one here you can probably fasten off and hide in the ends and get away with it. So just pulling it through and just weave it in and out some of these stitches that you have here, and the next layer here will trap that underneath. The trick is here is to keep the right side facing up. So the side that you just were looking at, keep that facing up, and then you can get rid of any loose tails at this point as well. So let's move on to row number 2. Let's begin row number 2, coming back to the very first side. So we finished here, so we're just going back and just grab it to the first double crochet that you have, and I need you to chain 4. So just a slip stitch at first, and then chain 4. So 1 2 3, there's a double crochet, and the 4th is a chain 1 space. In the next one here, just bury up over the top of the loose ends. It'll save you time, and you're gonna do a popcorn. So it's the same as what you already know, just 4 double crochets make it up. Okay, release it, let it go, pull through, chain 1 and double crochet into the next, and then popcorn into the next one. So this is the middle of the triangle. Helps to know that kind of stuff once in a while. And double crochet in the next. There's only 2 stitches left. I can see that 1 and 2. So chain 1 and then popcorn in the second last one. Pull through, chain 1 and double crochet in the very final one. So you're gonna want to get rid of this tail end now. Okay, so get rid of that. So you'll notice that we're gonna have green coming up soon, which is next, and we want 2 rows of green, so we're gonna have to still fasten off at the end of each one. It's kind of a pain, but it is what it is. So just weaving in your ends. If you can weave them in really good, you don't have to worry about a tapestry needle, but if you're not so good at it, definitely do a tapestry needle for this. Let's move on then to row number 3. Let's begin row number 3. You're going to join it to the top of the chain 3 that you started with before. Just you can do a standing single if you'd like to, and then in the next space you're going to apply 2 single crochets, so 1 and 2, and then 1 into the popcorn, and then in the space between the popcorn and the next double crochet there's going to be 2, and then in the double crochet there's only 1. Okay, so in the space between there's 2, the popcorn there's 1, The next space there's 2. The double crochet there's 1. The space set there's 2. Popcorn there's 1. And as you come to the other side here, remember there's a space there first, so 2 singles and then 1 single into the last double crochet that you stopped with, and then you want to get rid of this yarn even though we're going to use it again, this color, and fasten off. So let's continue. You can see it's looking more of a bowl shape. It will flatten out on its own in just a moment. Like you'll have a nice flat edge. It'll be pretty close. So you're gonna come into the first single crochet that you started with before, and you want to join it, and you're gonna just join and then chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, and double crochet into that same one. In the next single crochet you want to apply a double crochet. The next one is a half double crochet, and then 4 singles in a row. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're gonna get bigger, so we're gonna go to a half double crochet for 1, a double crochet for the next, and this will be the official point. So you can see it's in the middle of the popcorn. So there's gonna be 2 double crochets first, chain 2, and 2 double crochet. So let's do the other side here. So there's gonna be 1 double crochet by itself, 1 half by itself, 4 singles in a row. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you want a total of 1 half, 1 double, and then the very last one here you want 2 double crochets in there. And then that's it. So you see it's looking more better. So you're gonna just trim this off, and let's move on to row number 5. Let's move along to row number 5 I should say. So we're just gonna use the white and go to the top of the first chain 3 that we started with before, and we're gonna apply 2 double crochet or 2 singles in there. So let's just, you can join it with the standing. So this is the 1, and in the same one apply another single crochet in there. So it's just gonna be 1 single crochet in each of the stitches going across to the other side, with the exception to the new corner that was formed. And in the new corner it's 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet. So Svetlana, the designer, actually helped me with this. She said I was losing 1 count, so she helped me just with the next row that we had in order to get the counts balanced so that it'll puzzle together better. So you know, sometimes you don't always know the answers and rely on people to help you out. So she was really awesome with that. So you're just doing 1 single crochet into each, and so the very last stitch will have 2 single crochets in there to keep the balance and to keep it so that it will puzzle together beautifully. And so the very last stitch here there will be 2. And then finish off. Let's start row number 6. Just, there's only 7 rows complete. So let's just go to the first single crochet and just join it. So this is where Svetlana helped me out. So just join it and chain up 3, and then double crochet in the same one. So she suggested in the next one I not just put 1 double crochet, but I put in 2, and actually it works out better when you go to puzzle it. So that was a great suggestion. So the first 2 have essentially 2 double crochets in it. So it's now gonna be 1 double crochet into each except for the corners. The one corner that's only there, and the corner will be 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. So this is round number 6, and then the very final last 2 stitches on this one will have 2 double crochets into each, and that will have better balance. So I think you know what you're doing at this moment, so please do this. This is row number 6. So I got to the end of row number 6. See how it's flattened off? I haven't stretched it. It naturally wants to do it. So sometimes you just got to give it a bit of time, and then the stitches will naturally want to settle on its own. Let's do the final row number 7. Row number 7 I just used blue as I did before on the square. So going back to where I started, there's gonna be 2 singles into the very first chain 3 that you had before. So you can do a standing single for 1 and then another single crochet for 2. Then it's just 1 into each, and then the corner will be 1 single crochet, chain 1, 1 single crochet, and just keep in mind the very last stitch in this on this side will be 2 single crochets in there, and then you'll be good to go. And then I need you to weave in the ends and then do all your triangles for this particular case, and the triangles are only used on the ends, and I never put any triangles in the very corners of this. I thought that the chamfer would look really quite nice, and that's how the pattern for the border is written as well. So get this done and I'll see you at the end just for a quick recap, and then we'll move on in today's tutorial. So I'm at the end, just weave in your ends and then just get rid of everything that is hanging out of your project, and then have all your triangles ready to go. In the next part we're gonna start the assembly process, and I'm gonna show you how to do the invisible join, which gives a nice flat join. And again, anything at joining is completely optional on how you wanna do it, and that's good to go. So let's handle that next, and let's go back to the diagram and let's show you the assembly part, and then I'll show you how it's actually done, and then you'll do that on your own, and then we'll do the border. So here's what the Afghan looks like in diagram format. Here's the real deal. So it's a nice easy way to be able to think about it. So the squares only go in the middle sections here, and the triangles fill in the outside. So you need more triangles in order to fill it in. Again, I left it off so that there was no triangle on the edge. I did that because the triangle would look opposite to what's already here, and I didn't feel it would be really quite eye-pleasing. So what I want you to do is that you're just gonna start off strategically. So you're just gonna start off with one motif and just start joining in. So you're just gonna do a seam line here, and then you're just gonna pick up what you can. So you're just gonna start off here. You'll pick up the first part of this triangle, and then you'll join this octagon, and then this square, and then this octagon, and then the portion of this. So you want to kind of work strategically so that you have the less sewing strands needed in order to put it together. I also recommend to you that sometimes it's easy to get misorientated, so maybe just clip them together with a stitch marker, just like do like a full section. So I would do and work my way through one side like this, and then work my way and grab the others and start working my way, etc. like that. That's how I would do it and build it outward. It's a lot easier if you do that as well. So I'm going to show you how to do the invisible join next, and that will be continuing along today. As I begin to sew things, I look at things on the Afghan that can make my life a lot easier. So I just don't want a separate string for here, here, and here. So what I'll try to do is that I get a long enough strand so that I can just start sewing as I'm going along, and I can just match up the pieces. So if you're uncomfortable with just trying to go with it without any stitch markers, just grab a stitch marker and just clip it into place where you want it to go, and then start. Now the trick to doing this is that if you want an invisible join will allow you to have an invisible join pretty much even if the colors are opposite to each other. You want to choose the color that is gonna blend the best. So on the original sample you can see that I used, I think, the burgundies as my color for joining on the original. So I just did something without telling you, and I'll explain it in just a second. So I'm just feeding in the yarn into the needle. So the other side I create a slip knot, so you know how to do that. So let's zoom in, and I'm gonna show you what I'm about to do. So I want to capture the back loops of these particular motifs. So I would say I was gonna start over here, but just for tutorial reasons, and it's easier just to show you. So I want to go in the back loop of the one and the back loop of the other. Okay, so I'm looking at the project, so it's right side facing up, and I want to just go in the back loop of each of these, and I'm just grabbing the corners, just the back loop only. If I grab the complete stitch, it's gonna create a ridge. So I want to pull through, and as I'm pulling through, if I hopefully don't drop my needle off here, is that I want to push this through that slip knot, and what that will do is it'll lock it and then pull it nice and tight. So then I move to the next available, the back loop only, and then back loop on the next one, and I'm gonna lay this straggler down on top so it gets stuck underneath the stitch. This is called whip stitching, and by using the back loops you're creating essentially a flat join. So I'm going to drag this particular starting strand here, just about an inch or so, before I'm gonna cut it off and just say it's done. So I'm pulling things nice and tight as I'm going. So now that I think it's in long enough, I will take this now and I'll cut it out. So you can see it's really well hidden. So all I just have to do then is just continue to whip stitch, and if things are not balancing out, you can always just shift things. So for example, see if you see one side is going too quickly, then what happens is, say for example, say this side was going too quickly, I could just go into the same to the next stitch here and then go into the same one where it is, and then you can combine the two together. And it's really quite a hidden opportunity for you to try if you would like to do that. So you just want to continue just to follow the seam lines. Sewing takes a little bit of time for sure, but if you do it right, you can see that it's a nice flat join. And on the opposite side here, you can see that it's flat on this side as well. So what you want to do is you want to put everything together so that everything is matching. So in this case I would have just followed it around. So if I was doing it here, I would then probably pull up if I was going along here, I maybe want to do here and just go along the one side. Obviously you can't go both sides at the same time, so you'll need a separate strand, and just match everything and just pin things together if you have to in order to get things to work out, and it actually will do quite a nice job. So that's how I would whip stitch, and now we're gonna move on to the border next. So I'm about to start the border on this thing, and what I want to pay attention to the most is that where I'm starting. So I'm going to start on a chamfer edge right here and work on my way out. So if you're following the written instructions, that's where I've started, and I'm following around like so. So what I have indicated to you is that you want to keep the sides equal to each other as far as the counts, but you can always just fudge it if you have to. There's always ways to fudging things. And I've noted that there's 23 stitches along the chamfer, and I noted this center point here. So if you'll notice here that by the time I got to the center of this triangle here, so let me just show you there. So by the time I got to a center of the triangle that is listed right here, there was 83 stitches. So I equally spaced it out, and then I did another 82 stitches then from that point then to here. And I wanted to pay attention to that because it will look you just want to make sure that it looks right. So if you're off by 1 or 2 stitches, it probably is not noticeable, but if you're way off like 10 or 20 stitches too much on one side, you'll see it for sure. So along the bottom here, it's 165 stitches. That's the same measurement that you see here. I just did it so that it's easier for you to keep a count on. So what I want to do is that I'm just gonna show you how this is done, and it's really quite an easy thing, and it looks like it belongs as well. So let's move on to the border. So as we begin, I wanted to use the same color that I finished off the motifs with here. So I'm gonna use the blue, and I'm gonna start in the upper corner. So we're going to do your corners. The corners will always be the same, so I'm just gonna do a standing single crochet and then chain 2, and then I'm going to just single crochet in the same one. So I'm just going to apply 1 single crochet in each of the stitches going all the way around, and then on the next corner it'll be single crochet, chain 2, single crochet, and this is where the count is. So once you get over to here, you want to make sure you're equally spacing here. So it's 83 stitches to the middle of the middle triangle. So you want to just go along, use the stitches here, and then just look and equally space it along this edge here. And then you'll run into the next motif, and then you'll run into the next middle triangle next. So you just want to kind of equally space. Notice where you put it the first time, and you want to get your counts right at this moment, because then you don't have to keep accounts for the remaining of the rows. So it's just essentially 1 single crochet in each of the stitches, and just equally space it down as you're going along the sides when there is no stitch work to go into. So this is what we're going to do, and just meet me back here in just a moment. So just 1 single crochet. For transparency, I'm only just doing the corner section here. I'm not actually going all the way around. So once I get all the way to the end, I'm just going to slip stitch. Okay, and then I'm gonna get rid of that color. So just fasten off that color, and then we're gonna begin something new, and which will be a little bit easier for you to follow. So this is round number 1. So the first round will take you a little bit longer because you got to count your stitches to make sure that you got the right counts, and other than that, it's not a big deal. So I'm going to move to another color, and I can use any color that I want to. I'm just going to just use red just for the fun of it. And in red here, what I want to do is that I want to create some spacing so that I can do my popcorns in the next stitch. So what I need to do is that I just need to just go into the corner, and we're going to join with the standing single crochet, and then chain one only, and then one single crochet in the same one. So in this one here, what I need to do is that I need to just go one stitch into each one of those all the way around. That's it. So in the corners will be one single crochet, chain one single crochet, and that's those chamfer corners that you are seeing. So it's gonna be awesome. So you're creating a kind of a foundation just very much like you see right here. So just one single crochet in each of the stitches all the way around, and then maybe back here, and make sure you do corners one single crochet, chain one single crochet. I'll see you in just a moment. So I'm just coming all the way back around. Again, transparency, I'm not going all the way around, but you should be. And then all I'm just going to do at this point is just join it to the beginning single crochet. So that was round number 2 for the border. So we have 3 more rounds to do, rounds number 3, 4, and 5. So you're gonna get rid of that color, and then we're gonna continue then into round number 3. In round number 3 we're gonna create gapping spaces that you'll be able to notice, and this is why the count mattered in the very first time that we went around. So get rid of this color and try something new. So let's move on to round number 3. Starting in a corner, I want you to just go right into the chain one space of a corner, and we're going to join it. I can use a standing single crochet there if I want to, and chain one and one single crochet into there. So okay, so now you're gonna chain one, you're gonna skip the next stitch and single crochet in the next, chain one, skip one, single crochet in the next. So this round will go pretty quickly, and what you're doing is you're creating gapping spaces for the popcorns that will appear then in round number 4, which will be the final time you have to do popcorns for sure. So if your count is right, I'm not sure that it is for me because I haven't been really counting that strongly, but when I get to the corner, and I'll show you how to cheat it too if you have to. So if I'm gonna get to a corner, I wanna make sure I'm creating these spaces. So chain one spaces, skipping one. So I'm looking at it here. So I can tell I'm off by 1. So I told you I wasn't counting that strongly. So I'm just going to just put one in the last one, and I'm still gonna chain one and treat my corner as normal. Okay, so there's always a way to cheat it if you have to, but then start the row after that right. Okay, and just skip one, chain one, skip one, and etc., and keep doing that all the way over. I know why I'm wrong here. I just eventually figured it out. I skipped over too many. So right here, this is actually the second one. The first one was buried up underneath that one there, so the first one was technically there, so I've shifted by 1. So let's keep an eye on that if you want to do that. So I want you to continue to go around in this same fashion. This is row number 3, and then we'll start row number 4, which is a popcorn round once again. When you get all the way back around, you're just going to slip stitch. Make sure you do a chain one first before you do that, and then join it to the beginning. So let's start our popcorn round next, and the popcorn is just one little round. It will take a little bit of time to get to it. I felt it needed it to bring the popcorns kind of in balance with each other. Again, your call, your creativity. Anything that you would like to change is completely up to you really. So I'm just gonna use another fun color. So the nice thing about the popcorn that I designed it in a way that it's easy to go in place. So the chain one spaces essentially have a popcorn. So we're gonna start with the popcorn first. Okay, so you're just going to go right into a chain one space of a corner. Okay, and then you're just going to chain up 3. So 1, 2, 3, and then remember popcorns are made up of 4 double crochet. Okay, once you get that done, just go in the beginning one and pull it through, and then chain 1 just like that. And then what we want to do then is that we want to put in another popcorn into the same one. It's a corner, so you need that extra turn. And then let it go and get the middle first one. And then what you need to do at that point then is that you need to chain 1. So you gotta chain 1 in between these. So chain 1. So now that we've got the first corner done, so you wanna go in each of these chain 1 spaces that you have, and you want to apply a popcorn into each, just like that. So it's a really easy round because all the chain 1 spaces are easy to find, and then the corners, what you want to do is put 2 popcorns in just so that you can have it turn the corner even better. I'm kind of rushing here a little bit, I think you can tell. So chain 1 and then going to the next chain 1 space and etc. So you'll have all these popcorns going all the way around. So then what you need to do then at the very end, the very ending is the next row, which I'll show you in just a moment, but it works in between the spacing of these popcorns, which is a nice easy way of doing it. So just popcorn all the way around. Remember, corners are 2 popcorns with a chain 1 space in them just to let them turn. And then we'll be right back and we'll start the 5th and final round. So the 5th and final round works in the chain 1 spaces, so there's no compensation for corners at all. So on corner spaces, don't worry about it. You're just using each of the chain 1 spaces in between each of these popcorns, and it's the same thing. And it's my signature finish on how I like finishing my Afghans. So just join it with a standing single crochet first, and to get your first one done, chain 3 and then picot. So just going into the section there and pulling it through and through. It takes a bit of time to go around when you do this, but it looks amazing. And then single crochet in the same one. So there's 1 picot. Go to the next chain 1 space, so single crochet first, chain 3 and then picot. See where I'm putting the hook? And pull it through and through and single crochet in the same one. So essentially there's 2 single crochets in each of these chain 1 spaces. So just single crochet, chain 3, picot it, and then single crochet in the same one. So you're gonna go all the way around. Each chain 1 space will have this, and you'll see that it will look beautifully finished by the time you finish this round. So this is the end of the Home for Christmas Crochet Afghan. It's a really neat concept. I think hopefully that you've enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun to design this one here on behalf of our friends over at yarnspirations.com. Have a great one and a very festive holiday season to you, or Merry Christmas if you prefer. We'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.